Okay, we're recording.
Are we?
Yeah.
Are we? Oh my gosh. Look at me.
You sound all right?
I sound all right. You sound all right.
Okay, cool.
I mean, you're not bleeding into mine.
We're looking all right. Yeah, moved back just a little bit because I noticed a few things here and there, but all right.
Cool.
God bless the legendary Mitchell Thompson for making us do this. Now we're actually doing this because we got two mics.
So this is a podcast. I'm adjusting microphones. Oh, God. Just sliding this forward. Oh, yeah. There we go.
Oh.
There we go. Sorry. Oh,
yeah.
Was that as good for me as it was for you, microphone?
He's not talking. That's weird.
Roll the theme music.
Hey.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Sneaky Geek. And this week, we are back in the Sneaky Geek studio, which is also our music room,
SGHQ?
and also our library, and also our fireplace cozy room. And yeah, we are back in here, and we are enjoying our 2 microphone setup.
Oh, shit.
We've only been doing this for 4 years.
And we've been talking about it for 3.5.
And then Mitch, sweet, legendary Mitchell
The
Thompson.
lovely, legendary Mitchell
The
Thompson.
wonderful, legendary Mitchell Thompson. Mitchell S. Thompson. I don't even know if that's his middle. I don't know.
It is now.
It's at Mitchell S. Thompson. Not Mitchell S. Thompson. Whatever. Mitch Thompson called me up on a regular basis, and every phone call began with some list of compliments followed by insults followed by son of a bitch. So he'd call me up and he'd be like, "You handsome, beautiful, intelligent, stupid son of a bitch." And Mitch told me that I had to get 2 microphones because Mitch is our new editor.
Hey!
So shout out to
Actually, you're our editor. You can add in sound effects.
Yeah,
if you
add in
want
sound.
to.
Mitch, would you please add in a wah, wah, wah sound?
Thank you. Oh, that was beautiful.
Beautiful. I assume.
We'll keep it
I don't
around.
know. I don't know. Anyway,
we're
Mitch
gonna
is
keep
our
it
new
around
editor.
anyway.
We have an editor, which means we don't have to worry about our lazy asses not doing it.
Yeah, which is half the problem.
Half,
A little more than half.
probably more.
Well.
Anyway, that and scheduling, because I mean, when do we have time with our crazy? Well, your crazy busy life. Your life is a little crazy.
60 hours a week working is crazy. Meanwhile, everybody in the pandemic is being in the pandemic like, what movie am I going to watch now?
I'm sorry, Brian. Did you just say everyone in the pandemic as if you're not in the pandemic?
I'm very much in the pandemic also.
Like, oh yeah,
It's
all
weird.
those people in the pandemic.
All those
over there.
people in the pandemic that I'm also very heavily involved in the pandemic.
Welcome to 2021.
2021.
We made it through 2020. Thanks, time, for progressing ever forward.
Which is weird because time doesn't exist during the
It
pandemic.
really does not. But you know what happens tonight at the time of recording this?
recording
WandaVision
this?
comes out.
Oh, that too. Yeah.
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 Yeah, WandaVision
Drops tonight at
comes out
midnight.
tonight
Well,
at
the first 2
midnight?
episodes.
First 2?
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. And I think it's coming out not next week, but the week after. I think there's like a 2-week gap.
Well, they went
Building that hype.
building up hype, I guess. They're like, here, let's just confuse them for 2 weeks. That
Right,
makes the most
exactly.
sense.
This is a podcast.
I heard you swallow.
This is a family-friendly podcast, sir.
I have headphones on and I can hear like all of the audio, but I'm going to take them off because, oh my gosh, wow, those are some noise-canceling bad boys. I'm really happy I bought those.
all right.
Back before I even started thinking about doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Back when I was just buying all of the things because I had a real job. And I said,
Hey.
I'm going to go do voice acting. And then I did like 4 voice acting jobs and then I just did podcasting.
So if you're listening to this, Bryce does voice acting.
Yeah, hire me. I can do accents.
Listen to that sultry
And
voice.
I can tell you all about the great product that you're trying to sell. I can say random words: lamp, drums, curtains.
I just
Calvin
naming things in
Klein.
the room.
Yes, I am just naming things in the room. No, really, I love that lamp. I love lamp. I do.
I do.
Anyway, so today is the 14th of January, and we released an episode earlier this week, last week. I don't know.
2 days ago,
doesn't
time doesn't exist. No.
Anyway, we released an episode that was dealing with our other episode that we recorded in the past, updating things on the past.
A lot of timey-wimey stuff.
Now we're talking about something that's relevant and happening now, because we have Mitchell Thompson, the legendary, wonderful Mitchell Thompson. Mitchell J. Thompson, you beautiful, handsome, talented, brilliant son of a bitch. Anyway.
Can't confirm.
Yeah. So, Bryan, we have like 3 or 4 things happening in geek news.
Just this week.
Just like today.
Yeah.
The big one earlier this week was...
Yesterday.
Was that yesterday?
Yeah, I do remember that. That was yesterday.
Lucas?
That
was 2 days ago.
Film, was it?
I thought Lucasfilm Games was 2 days ago.
I want to say it was yesterday.
No, it was 2 days ago, because yesterday... Might have even been 3 days ago, because at some point I said we got to get Mitch on to talk about Monkey Island, because Mitch loves Monkey Island.
That was it was last night.
He wasn't able to do it, which means that it was.
But he wasn't able to join us 2 days ago when we tried to do this 2 days ago.
Yeah, so it happened like 3 days ago that they made.
We were both wrong.
It happened like 3 days ago.
No, it was yesterday.
Anyway, quick fact check tells us that it happened 3 days ago, or at least there was an article about it 3 days ago. And Lucasfilm Games is being revived by the mouse.
As it does.
You know, no one's ever really gone.
No one truly dies.
No one truly dies. You know, or whatever that clip is. So they're back. Lucasfilm Games was the precursor to LucasArts. And LucasArts is who I grew up playing games from.
Same.
You know, I played Super Star Wars. I played the Indiana Jones for the Super Nintendo, those sorts of games.
Yeah.
But the precursor to that being Lucasfilm Games made games like Loom and Monkey Island, and games for the Commodore 64 and the
I didn't realize it was around that
Atari.
long. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, because they I want to say were founded in '82. Their first game didn't come out until March of '84.
Shoot, that was way before I thought.
Yeah, and they made games for everything. But when the buyout happened, LucasArts got shut down, which meant the shutting down of 1313, which is really sad.
Yeah.
Because 1313, for those of you at home who don't know, was a game that was supposed to center around the 1313th level of Coruscant as a city, because it is a city that's stacked on top of itself, which happens to be the seedy underbelly where all the crime crap happens. And according to a friend of mine who actually got to play that game, it was super, super dope.
It looked legit.
And I saw some gameplay, but he said when he was working at the studio at the time, because he had been in there, that he had gotten to like play test just a couple of like little sections of it. He was like, dude, it was as cool as they were planning.
And of course it was.
And then it got all shut down because, they bought him out, etc.
Yeah.
But now Lucasfilm Games is being revived, which could mean a lot of things.
Yeah.
One of the big ones that's being speculated right now is that EA is no longer the sole proprietor of Star Wars video game content.
Very good thing.
That's a really good thing.
Yeah.
Now, that said, EA really took care of Battlefront 2. The Battlefront 2 support, the Battlefront 2 availability for anything. Like, the only thing you could pay for in Battlefront 2 was skins. Which, I guess if you have like a particular skin that's like basically invisible on like Geonosis or something, that might be helpful. But really and truly, it didn't give you a strategic advantage to have any of this. It was just
which is not how it originally started.
And originally, the amount of paywalls and everything, it was absolutely a pay to win type of scenario. And EA got a lot of flack for coming up with a BS excuse on Reddit. It is the #1 lowest downvoted comment in Reddit history.
Still, years later.
Yeah, there's shills like up the wazoo, and they're also downvoted into oblivion. And the overall like attitude of the team manning the game completely flipped. The Battlefront 2 community on Reddit is super, super supportive of the team, the dev team that actually made it. The dev team, was in very close
different
contact
from EA.
Yeah. And much like most games that EA actually produces, it was a small team that had its own name that was under EA.
Yeah, it was like a separate company that
Like Mirror's
EA
Edge
also-
is technically
yeah.
under, that same umbrella, but it wasn't made necessarily by
By
the big
EA.
EA. But they still have their hands over everything, much in the same way that Lucasfilm is its own thing.
Yeah.
Under
Disney. Yeah.
So Lucasfilm Games becoming its own thing, the speculation right now is that there's a little bit more creative freedom and that we're going to get something a little bit closer to the experimentation and not just like fan service pandering that you might have seen in sequel trilogy, but a little bit more, let's try some stuff based
new
on
stuff.
inspiration and let's expand our universe beyond simply, the Skywalkers.
Yeah.
And in that regard, that I think really stems from the success of Mandalorian.
I think so.
I think that's an easy.
And even the comic books and the animated shows lately have been like amazing. They've been great.
Oh yeah, no. Let's talk about that because I mean, as much as I want to keep on going about Lucasfilm because I could talk about video games forever, you are probably the person the most in the know of the two of us about the High Republic, which is a whole new expansion because before Lucasfilm got bought out. There was an expanded universe that,
there sure
where
was.
Thrawn was, and we have a whole episode based on that.
We went like 10,000 years in the past and
it
like
was
150
crazy.
years after Return of the Jedi. Like there was some, it was
the
a
history of the
long
universe
stuff. Yeah.
existed and we knew what happened. And then after the buyout, everything.
They reset everything.
Yeah, everything gets reset except for Clone Wars, which again still happens within that
The
time
movies
period.
and the TV shows, basically.
Except anything that flashed back within the Clone Wars. So something spoken by a temple guard per se might allude to something that happened in the past.
Yeah.
But otherwise, they've been kind of rebuilding the expanded universe, but they haven't really pushed far.
No,
like Morbo, I think was his name. The mask that Vader speaks with that helped him construct his castle.
Oh, yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Like he talks a little bit about something that happened long ago, centuries ago.
Hundreds of years before.
But again, you don't really have an idea of how the universe or the galaxy in this case worked. So now they're rolling out the High Republic. Bryan.
Yeah, the High Republic.
What's up?
Yeah, so it's cool. They got a couple of comic book writers, a couple of novel writers, and they basically just came up with this new storyline, this new era that's set 200 years before the Phantom Menace, which is pretty cool. I kind of wish they would have went a lot further back in the past, but
How far away is Knights of the Old Republic?
like 3,000 years, 5,000. It's a long time.
I know the Old Republic, it was supposed to be
long
before.
The Old Republic is
KOTOR is
after.
like 2000, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. So if like KOTOR's 2000, then if it's 2,000 years before A New Hope, then the Old Republic is 1,000 years.
Okay.
Yeah. The Old Republic happens after Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, because there's like references to
There's
it
a lot of
right
references. There's family. There's, So it's kind of cool.
Family.
Yeah. Family. That's come up twice in the last couple of days, and I love it. Anyways, so the High Republic, they have like a younger Yoda. He's like, again, 200 years younger than Phantom Menace, but he's around. He's one of the two Grand Masters of the Jedi, which is pretty cool. There's two of them, but it focuses around the Starlight Citadel, which was kind of hinted at in a few issues of the early Star Wars series that came out last year from Charles Soule, who wrote one of the novels and is kind of spearheading this whole...
He wrote Light of the Jedi, right?
Yeah. And
which we have sitting on a shelf right now.
Yeah, so he's been writing... He wrote one of the Darth Vader volumes, which was amazing. It was one of the best comic book series I've ever read. He's written a few other spin-offs. Like I believe he wrote the Lando issues miniseries.
The one you have on in trade?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's
So basically,
so good.
anything this dude has written for Star Wars, comic book wise, has been absolute gold. Actually, I met him and talked with him real quick, and he actually signed my Darth Vader #1 issue at Comic-Con a couple years ago.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So he's kind of spearheading this whole thing right now, and they're all working with Lucasfilm, and they're working just amongst each other and trading ideas and sharing everything. And they're just building this new era of Star Wars, which is cool.
I mean, if I may quick aside, like one of the things we regularly bring up when we talk about comics is that in the 80s, in the golden era of like really, really synced events, everyone had an idea of what was going on. And there wasn't this like weird deviation and weird canonical problems. But now in comics, it seems like there's a little bit of a communication breakdown because they're not like actually keeping up with each other because everybody wants to do their own story in regards to like Marvel. But
yeah, they've gotten a lot better lately, but the last couple of years have been yeah.
But I mean, and Bendis went to DC. But it seems like these guys, specifically the High Republic team that we've seen, are like on their shit about who's like, and there's a clear like, you know, leader in charge of like, this is where we need to be going. Yeah. This is what we need to be referencing, what we can't talk about. Yeah, I mean, they're really good about secrets in Lucasfilm as it is.
Big time, yeah.
I know E.K. Johnston told us that she had to change the name of a character when we interviewed her. She had to change the name of a character because they were like, it sounds too much like Director Krennic or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And things like that are... I feel like they really, really have on lock.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of things are thought out years in advance. Yeah, which is really cool, and it keeps everything consistent. So and it's really cool. So they have comic books, they have a regular Marvel comic book, then they have an IDW more I don't want to say children's based, but like it's more all reader friendly. And the same thing with the books. So they have like actual novels, like adult novels, and then they have some like children's or young reader novels. But everything's tied in. Characters will bleed into different... The characters in the comics will go into the novels. Some of the characters in the novels will go into the comics. Everything all revolves around this storyline that they have fleshed out that isn't quite... Well, I haven't read the novel yet, but I've read the first issue, and it's a good setup to what's going on.
I really enjoyed the first issue, actually. Yeah. I thought it was really cool because we learned a little bit more about like Bosk's species. Yeah. What is it? Trandoshans. And we learned a little bit more about like, I mean, just the presence of some of the Jedi that they show at the Citadel and what it's being used for, and like some kind of ceremonious stuff that we've never seen the Jedi do because we've only seen the Jedi at war, basically. Yeah, so and this is as a time politicians.
Of peace. Yeah, so the High Republic being 200 years before Phantom Menace. It's pretty peaceful. Like the Jedi did their job.
Oh, it's peaceful?
It's very peaceful. Like everybody's chilling.
Is there slavery on Tatooine?
Who knows? It doesn't matter because the High Republic is.
Yes, of course.
The good times. You know. Yeah. So they have a new villain coming out, and it just kind of like wrecks the whole thing. And there's a big old accident somewhere, and it sets the course just of everything going on. So I'm hoping to start the audiobook in the next couple days. Just to see how the novel is, and I hear it's really good. So
that's good.
That's good. But what's really cool is last month Lucasfilm announced 10 new projects.
Yeah,
movies, TV shows, spin-offs. It's But one of the movies is The Acolyte, and that's supposed to be about a dark side user, but it's set in the time of the High Republic. We don't know if it's tying things up at the end because the movies I can't remember if they said what year it's coming out, but it's definitely a couple years down the line. But that gives the comic books and these novels time to really build that era of Star Wars, and maybe the Acolyte is kind of wrapping everything up or just kind of in the middle of it all. Anyways, there's a lot more Star Wars coming out pretty soon, and it is a good time to be a Star Wars fan.
Yeah, it is. Oh my gosh, there's so much between Bad Batch and Ahsoka and Rangers of the Republic and like all the other stuff, plus what's
Mando season 3. Mando season 2 was great. No bias, but there's a lot of bias.
So bringing all of that back, we have Lucasfilm Games now.
Yeah,
which I figured that the announcement that this was going to be going on was like the end of that. Like we were going to hear a little bit, and then it was going to be like, okay, bye. Like we'll tell you what we're doing when things get going.
Yeah,
but within days. They were like, oh, and by the way, we paired up with Ubisoft. Or Ubisoft, whichever. I've always said Ubisoft, and I'm never going to stop. I'll never stop, and I'll never die.
Never stop stopping.
I'll never stop, never stopping. Ubisoft is going to be making an open world, story-driven game.
Yeah.
Which, honestly,
I'm so excited.
So the announcement for Lucasfilm Games came, and at first I was like super stoked because I was like, Squadrons. Yeah.
Well, they dropped a sizzle reel.
And they drop a sizzle reel.
Which, again, sizzle reels are all about, like, what did we do in the past? And not exactly what we're doing in the future. But it's supposed to hype you up to, like, here's the cool stuff we did, which means we still have cool stuff in us later on.
And, they showed a lot of stuff from Battlefront. They showed a lot of stuff from Squadrons. They showed a lot of stuff from Fallen Order. And awesome. Yeah. That's what you've done. Yeah. I'm proud of you. They also showed Galaxy of Heroes, which is a mobile game, and I'm like, okay. All right. And then they showed skins on Fortnite
and The Sims
and skins on The Sims.
And you're like, oh,
and
okay.
skins on Minecraft. And I'm like, it's neat that I can have Baby Yoda in Minecraft and all, but you didn't make a game.
You just gave them skins.
You gave them property rights.
But yeah.
Like, don't.
Yeah, I mean, they did announce a new indie game, and again,
but
days
that was
later,
its own thing.
Yeah, that was
that's another thing that's been announced right out the chute. But like, my initial thoughts were like, okay, so it's Lucasfilm Games, so they're not reviving Lucasfilm Games; they're just making a thing and calling it what it used to be called. Mm-hmm. And it's not like it's LucasArts, which Lucasfilm Games became LucasArts in the early '90s. I think it was '92,
something around there.
But Lucasfilm Games immediately start like they give us this half-assed. I mean, it's a lovely sizzle reel if you care really about any of those four skins. Hyped me up. I was hyped that they existed, but I wasn't like
I played most.
By
of
the
these.
end, I was like, stop, get those out of here.
Yeah.
You didn't. Fortnite
it's a new
not
era.
a Star Wars.
It's
property.
a new era. Bring it on. Let's go. What do you got?
That said, the message that that the dead speak for Palpatine was only hearable on Fortnite.
Oh, that's right.
And it was super weird.
It was weird.
But like the message comes over in the sky in Fortnite, because Fortnite leads towards like weird giant events within the game that change the map, etc. And they just got done doing a big Marvel thing, and then I think they switched into the Mando thing. But at one point they were doing a Rise of Skywalker thing, and the message that Palpatine says that actually is referenced in Rise of Skywalker is heard in Fortnite, and you can hear it on YouTube now, but you have to look up like Palpatine message Fortnite.
Yeah.
But like things like that, I'm like, that's a neat little tie-in, and you definitely promoted Fortnite, but like, and you definitely used Fortnite to hype kids up for Star Wars. Maybe you didn't change any gameplay.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of weapons changed, but basically they're just guns.
Yeah. It's like, give me a real game. Give me like give me solid, in-depth stuff.
I want more lore.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as much as I was like, meh, at the end of the sizzle reel, the indie trailer drops right after that, which the indie trailer doesn't say shit, but you know what? It was the same level of trailer that I got for Uncharted 4, and I was just as hyped for that.
Yeah.
And frankly, like Indiana Jones, you wouldn't think makes a great video game, even on a Wii. You're like,
I'm sure.
Maybe, you could be all right. I've played the side-scrolling adventure on the Nintendo, but the Wii one, like, I don't know if it's just motion controls and whip flicking or what, but it was awesome.
Nice.
And the idea of them doing another one, expand that Indiana Jones lore. Go for it, And then right after that, the Ubisoft thing. Ubisoft made, Valhalla, Odyssey, and all the other Assassin's Creed games.
Yeah.
Like, these people know how to do... I mean, they also know how to release a game way too early and not fix things. And, that happens. No. But hopefully that won't be the case. Yeah. Because a broken game gives you real bad press. And they're certainly... on edge after what happened with Cyberpunk 2077, and they certainly don't want to have more bad video game, rap like Battlefront 2 did before it got started. And I remember I had to convince people to like get Battlefront 2.
Oh yeah.
When I finally did buy it, because I got it for super cheap, but I was like, no, it's good now. It's really good.
They
now.
fixed it. It's fine,
and they're not jerks.
Yeah.
So like, I don't want to give EA too much crap, but I do feel
they
like...
They did listen to the fans.
They did, and they did like turn it around.
Which I think we've talked about before.
The swing mechanics on Fallen Order are garbage.
Yeah, they're right. Yeah.
The animation for the ropes that you're grabbing is
weird.
Garbage. It flicks all over the place, and they didn't really force you. Like, I grew up on Jet Force Gemini. You go through a planet.
Yeah.
You get to the main boss. The main boss screws you over. Everybody's got to go back to the planets and like re-explore them again in order to get things done. The
Princess
need
in the castle.
to revisit, but imagine going through the whole Mario game, and then at some point around World 4, they're like, BT dubs, there's a bajillion secrets in World 1, and you need to go back. That's a ton of replay value.
Oh yeah,
there's a ton of exploration. But when your mechanic for exploration is a pain in the ass, and the spiders are impossible on Kashyyyk, those damn spiders. But when those issues are issues or what have you, then want to go back there is already diminished. But if there was a reward that was necessary to go back more than once to every planet, I don't know. I feel like they really missed an opportunity there. And I feel like Ubisoft really gets that. They really get the whole like, no, you want lots of things to do, even if it's nonsense. In Assassin's Creed 2, we chased down feathers for like a month. I did bullshit for like a bunch of early American colonizer like people in Assassin's Creed 3. That was like its own game to me. And the amount of shit that I did for Assassin's Creed 4, like if they can get even close to that, the fun that was like being a pirate in Assassin's Creed 4.
Yeah, still need to play that. I just got it a couple months ago, but
I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it. Anyway, that's Lucasfilm Games.
Yeah. So we're excited to hear what they have coming out, but we already know that Fallen Order 2 is going to come out.
I assume that's still under EA.
It could, or it was a different company producing it, but EA was the one that put it out. However that system works, so who knows? But yeah, there's that one. They still have the Skywalker Saga Lego game coming out, which looks fun as hell. If you guys ever played any of the Star Wars Lego games, you know what you're getting yourself into. And I'm real excited for that one. But yeah, so it should be cool over the next couple of years, seeing their announcements and what games they have. Yeah, hopefully we'll get a Mando game, but we'll see.
Oh, I mean, it's already set up for a video game. Like, hey, you need to go do this quest, but first, I need you to do me a weird favor.
Yeah, right. Go do some bounties and stuff. Yeah, deal with that.
Dude, the bounty hunting system in Star Wars Bounty Hunter, which I've streamed on Twitch once or twice. Oh yeah. It's like if anything close to that, I'm good. Yeah. Let's do it. Do a Mando prequel. You know?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't need everybody be like, but what about the baby? Yeah. Well, I love the baby just as much as every other Tom, Dick, and Harry, and etc. And Tom, Dick, and Grogu. I wouldn't mind something like that.
Yeah. Speaking of video game news, today they just announced not announced because we already know it's coming out, but the new Pokemon Snap on the Switch.
It got its announced date.
Yeah,
the date was announced.
Yeah. April 30th. They dropped a new trailer.
What is it called? New Pokemon Snap?
Something like that, yeah.
It's not Super Pokemon Snap.
Super duper Pokemon Snap. Yeah.
But, new Pokemon Snap?
Yeah, so the trailer was cool. I
didn't get a chance to watch it. I didn't realize it had a trailer. I saw the link and got excited, and that was enough.
Yeah, it was pretty basic. Kind of give you the basic reasons and how and why and where you're going to go.
Is Professor Oak there?
No, but some other dude is with a...
It's called New Pokemon Snap.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, no, there's every generation of Pokemon up to date, I believe, is in it.
Whoa.
Which is really cool. I don't know about every single one, but like all the generations are represented in there, which is cool. I'm really hoping they put out the OG as like a special feature on it, or maybe even
like
just
they did with the new Doom.
Yeah.
Where the original Doom is like within the game of the new Doom.
Yeah, or if they just like reskin it and like, oh, here's the updated version of the exact same game.
I wouldn't mind. I mean, shoot, you already got the things.
Yeah,
you know,
because that was Tate and I played it all the time growing up.
Garrett and I used to play that game like crazy. Trying to get that Ditto to turn back into a Ditto in the cave, or
the Charizard to evolve.
Get Mankey to turn into a Primate.
Yeah, so fun.
And like, I hope that they update the rules for like what makes a good photograph.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, there was only so much they could do on the 64 back in the day.
Like, but Ghosts of Tsushima and God of War and like games like that have a full photo mode, and Spider-Man.
Oh, Spider-Man, yeah.
Whole photo mode where you're like, hey, I want to do this and this and this. Now, granted, if the goal of the game is to be a wildlife photographer, you can't change the weather, but you could be like, hey, get to focus and don't punish me for not having it like fully in frame. If I can get a really sweet dramatic shot of a Charizard blowing some fire and if his face is on the side of the image, I want props for an aesthetically pleasing photo.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not a documenter. I am a nature photographer for National Geographic.
Right.
National Pokographic? Ugh. No. Well, we're gonna move on.
We'll figure that out. We'll
workshop that.
We'll workshop that. Yeah. But yeah, so that they just announced the release date, so April 30th. Gonna be great.
Yeah. What was it? Who was in the trailer? I know in the thumbnail for the article, like, you got. I mean, there's a Dodrio. Yeah. And there's a bunch of starters and a Pichu, some baby mons.
Yeah, a lot of the starters are in there. Obviously, like Pikachu made an appearance, and
Lapras. Is in the cover. What's the one with the big flower that comes out of its neck?
Oh, one of the other starter. I
have like 4 shinies of him on Pokemon Go.
Yeah. Anyway, so then there's so many in there, which is really cool. Yeah. Speaking of video games, okay, apparently we're going a half video game episode.
Okay.
Hey, I got myself a PS5 the other day.
Yes, you did.
Well, my good buddy Kevin, shout out to Kevin, thanks buddy, was on the lookout. I was it was one of those things like, oh, I definitely want one eventually because it seems like a better console to me than the new Xbox console. Mm-hmm. The exclusive games on there seem better to me.
Sony's got Spider-Man.
Also, I love me some Spider-Man. Hot damn.
Yeah.
I was kind of on the lookout. I'm like, well, I definitely want to get it eventually, but if I don't get it, it's no big deal. And Kevin got his own, and he's like, oh, I'll keep a lookout for you. And he's like, oh, I got one. You want it? I'm like, yeah, dude, cool.
Wow.
So we hooked it up. Haven't had a chance to play a whole lot because work started back up, and work's kind of crazy right now. So I'm working 60+ hour weeks right now. So but I finally set it up. I got me a media remote, so. If we ever watched movies or DVDs or Blu-rays on it. I don't know why
the media remote wasn't just a standard thing as soon as the PS2 had one. Like, as soon as this thing became a DVD player, they should have just been like, yo, you got a media remote.
Yeah. But they want your money, so they got it. But yeah, so a couple weeks ago I picked up Assassin's Creed Valhalla for it because it was super on sale at the Targets.
Yep.
And then Kevin got me Miles Morales, which is freaking rad of him.
I'm super excited.
Again, thanks, buddy.
I need to finish the first Spider-Man, but I do like the
so I definitely want to finish that
one.
First one. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm still kicking myself because I haven't finished Spider-Man and my name's in the credits. So yeah. I'm way behind on the times. I'm sorry.
Clearly.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited to have the PS5. It's funny because there's not a whole lot of games on it, but it's backwards compatible with PS4. There's a lot of downloadable games, but also gives me time to just like play around and finish up whatever. And I'm still playing through Squadrons. Still want to finish up Spider-Man. So I got a lot of options, and it's going to look very pretty. So a lot bigger than I thought it would be. The controller's very nice and comfy.
That thing is huge.
Yeah.
It is so like the controller is beefy too, and it has a hefty weight to it.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited to feel like all the haptic feedback stuff, but just the weight of it in your hand and the fact that it's just a little bit longer on both sides so that you can actually I have gigantic hands. This is a podcast and my hands fun fact, when I stretch my hand out as wide as I can get it, thumb to pinky, it's 11 inches.
Heyo.
And that sort of thing results in a lot of cramping in like fighting games. Oh my god!
Yeah.
I've never wanted to be one of those guys who has the full paddle for fighting.
Right. Yeah.
But dude, just to save my poor thumbs.
It's interesting, like coming from like the health and fitness field, and there's different sizes for different, equipment and implements. It's so weird that the video game companies, they haven't made smaller controllers for kids, and they haven't made larger controllers for adults.
It's interesting too because there's so many companies that will come out in order to correct these problems that are like third party.
Yeah.
But unfortunately,
they're all pretty standard sized.
Well, they're all standard sized, but also third party controllers sometimes have issues like not being able to register so many buttons at a time. Oh. So like I had a third party Super Nintendo controller, which exactly the same size, exactly the same layout, no turbo, anything fancy on it. It was just a regular ass Super Nintendo controller.
Yeah.
Except it wasn't made by Nintendo.
Yeah.
In the game Illusion of Gaia, in order to do a particular move that actually gets you into certain areas, you have to hold down two buttons while holding the L button. God. And you can't do it because the game doesn't recognize more than two buttons being pressed simultaneously at a time.
Yeah.
And it was the strangest thing because I had to basically trick the game into thinking because there's a certain amount of time that the controller having the button registered, pressed, will register. And so what I figured out was I actually had to press the A and B button or whatever it was, simultaneously, and then release it and hit the trigger hit the L1 button fast enough because the amount of time that passed between them, the game would register, okay, he hit all three of the buttons, but the controller could not send the signal simultaneously. So I had to trick the game into thinking I was doing it correctly. Things like that are just ridiculous. But then on the other hand, like the Nintendo 64, Mad Catz had a controller that had the turbo option, which if you're ever playing Jet Force Gemini and you got your buddy playing Floyd with you, give him a Mad Catz controller with a turbo option because then he can suddenly have an automatic gun.
Gun mode unlocked.
But that controller had rubber grips along the back, and it was considerably
I
larger on the
remember that
bottom,
one.
and it honestly fits my hand to this day. I mean, better than the regular
most
Nintendo
others,
64 controller, which is already a ridiculous nightmare.
It's a crazy controller.
Have you ever noticed though that the Nintendo 64's like main handle is just a Wiimote nunchuck?
Yep.
But
and the Switch is basically just a what's it called? Like the Wii U.
Oh yeah.
Like it's
no, they just said, "Hey, let's do the Wii U," but what everyone expected it was going to be, and let's announce it first. Let's advertise it properly instead of accidentally.
Like, is this a side thing? Is this a
is this an add-on?
32X add-on to my Sega or?
But that being said, yeah, I don't understand why controllers, the best we get is like a rubber skin that goes around. Like, I don't need a controller condom with ribs.
No.
I don't need the French tickler of controllers. I do appreciate its vibrating function, but no, but like that's what you get. You get like the rubber thing that like slides over the PS3 controller, and it's got like little bumps on it. And it's like, oh, congratulations, you can grip this tiny thing a little bit harder. I still have gigantic hands.
It's still a small controller.
Like I need like a bump stock for my controller.
You're right. Sure, they make them.
Sure, I've looked honestly.
Party.
If I had a 3D printer, like I would probably be doing something with this.
Yeah.
But honestly, I just need something to get underneath there so that my thumbs, when extended, are where the controller are instead of like curled up
so
into
my
palms.
And Bryce's hands look all sorts of
They're
jacked
so.
up,
If anybody knows me, they know my hands already look all kinds of jacked up as it is. Anyway, I do appreciate the PlayStation controller is a little bit weightier.
Yeah, you were very excited. You're like, let me look at this. Oh my god.
Yeah. And I appreciate that the handles are low enough that I can hold it lower and have my thumb like fully extended when I'm pressing the triangle button, which is at the top for anybody who doesn't know that. Because PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo all think that they need to have different controllers.
Took me a while.
I assume it's a copyright issue or something.
I don't know.
The fact that B isn't on the bottom of the Xbox was one of my biggest...
Threw me off.
I can't tell you how many things I lost.
Although, to be fair... I love the Xbox controller. And like that felt the most... Even growing up playing Nintendo consoles my whole life until Xbox came out, like that just felt comfortable to me.
If the game doesn't have like a QuickTime event where I have to, or a cutscene cinematic, that one guy on Reddit like screamed at me for, that's a story. But if a game doesn't have that, like I'm never gonna notice.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, but the moment it's like press Y and I'm reaching over to press Y, which is the square button on the PlayStation and the X button on the Xbox, I'm immediately gonna screw up because I trained for like 20 years on how to use a Super Nintendo controller.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And that's because growing up, I didn't have a PlayStation. I was always Nintendo or Xbox when it came out.
Yeah.
And even afterwards, like I was a little late to the party, but I rarely ever played the PlayStation. I had a couple friends that had it, but even my friends that had a PlayStation always had a Super Nintendo or 64, and we always end up playing games on those because those are more party game based or more co-op based.
Yes.
So that's what I always played. I never really played. I didn't get a PS2 until years later, and I only got it to play Kingdom Hearts and Rock Band.
Yeah.
Or Guitar Hero. Guitar Hero.
I got a PS2. I think we got our first PS2 like 3 years into the PS2 existing.
Oh wow. Yeah.
We're usually in my family we were usually a few years behind consoles. I think the Super Nintendo was one of the only ones we were like on like oh, this is here, we got this.
Oh cool. Yeah.
I don't think we switched to the PS2 or to playing over to the PlayStation world until the PS2. And when we did, we didn't get the GameCube.
Yeah.
You know, we were never two current gen consoles simultaneously.
Same.
And then by the time we were at a point where we could get two current gen consoles, we were sharing games. Like, my stack of PlayStation games, like when I get through any of those, they're just going to go back to my folks' place so that any of my other brothers and sisters can go to our.
Because all your siblings are gamers.
Yeah, and I mean it's basically our little tiny family blockbuster which is that's in a cabinet, much to the chagrin of my mother, who's like, "Get these out of my office!" Yeah, like, don't you touch them! Don't you touch them!
No, ma.
You know, like I'll go over to the house and I'll go looking for a game, and then I have to call like three siblings. Hey, do you currently have 1080 for the 64?
Like, oh yeah, I'm halfway through it.
Yeah, or something like that. And like Barrett will be like, "Oh no, I took that one back to Illinois with me," or whatever the hell state he lives in.
Yeah, right. You basically have like a library system.
You
need to have
really
like
shitty
a checkout.
librarian.
Yeah. Damn it, Ma.
Yeah, like my mom. It took my mom at least 30 years before she would admit to me that she was calling everything a Nintendo on purpose.
Just to piss you off.
Just to piss me off. And she did.
Classic mom move.
And I was like,
I respect that.
Why do you do this to me? Why? And she's like,
this.
Why have you done this? Because there was something else that she was also incorrectly calling it. But it was everything. She called my underwear my panties. She called my she called my uniform my costume because I was in Boy Scouts. And she called my whatever system it was the Nintendo.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I still call any other handheld Nintendo game system a Game Boy.
You mean the Game Boy DS?
Game Boy DS, right?
That's what it is.
The Game Boy Switch.
DS.
Game Boy DS.
I wouldn't call it the Game Boy Switch, but it's basically
it's
the Game
pretty
Boy
much a
Switch.
Game Boy Switch.
I mean, essentially, it's the Super Game Boy.
It's a Super Game Boy.
Yeah,
Super Game Boy Switch.
Today on Reddit, I saw somebody who took a Super Game Boy and then the Game Boy camera into it, and they're like, "Ready for Zoom class."
That's genius.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so I have PS5.
So you have a PS5, and the controller's really nice.
It's great.
And we haven't played any games on it, but this is our review of the PS5.
Yeah. So far, so good, everybody.
The only other news that I think we hadn't talked about yet is that one of my favorite characters in comics, Darkhawk, is coming back.
Darkhawk's making a comeback.
I don't know when he left.
I don't remember either.
Because he kind of just shows up and it's like, hey, Darkhawk's here for this tie-in. And
you're like, oh, Darkhawk, what up, dude?
They brought back Wraith before they brought back Darkhawk.
Yeah. But even then, like, Wraith still isn't. He never got another series. Well, he got
a one shot for the Venom event.
And then he actually did there was a mini, like a 3 or 4 issue miniseries with some event 2 years ago.
He did show up in the background, I think, of Thanos' will.
Could have been.
Spoiler alert, at one point Thanos got his head chopped off. And when he did, he had a last will and testament that like all of the galactic.
Oh yeah. No, he ended up showing up another time after that. Shoot,
like in a Guardians book or something like that.
Yeah. But so Darkhawk's coming back.
Yeah, for all of our What's It heroes.
Cosmic heroes.
Cosmic heroes, yeah, for the cosmic universe.
But his creators are coming back to do the series.
That's super cool.
Which is freaking rad.
Because Darkhawk's got kind of
a weird dark history
side to it, like not in the writing. Not like amongst its creation.
No. But just like his story itself.
His story and what it means and like what having this power, like what its origin is.
Like the space raptors or something like that.
Yeah, they're like supposed to be these horrific, like murderous things.
Yeah.
And
here's this teenager from Earth that like, I'm going to do good with this new power and amulet thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Darkhawk's backstory, can you like run that down?
No, because I don't really know it because you're the Darkhawk fan.
That's true. Okay. So Darkhawk is the same like 60s, 70s, 80s like origin story of a cosmic hero from Earth that all of them have. It's like, I was at a construction site and I found this mysterious thing and I had to hide it from my family.
But I'm a teenager and I'm going through some tough times because I'm a teenager and I just want to be normal.
I just want to be normal and relatable.
Yeah. Hey, superpowers. That's relatable.
Superpowers. I'll get those. And then you got to hide them. And then Darkhawk was Darkhawk became like a cosmic hero and like he has shown up periodically. I know. When was the last Comic-Con I went to? 3 years ago?
2 years. 3 years.
I wasn't at
because you weren't. Yeah.
The one before with you when you went without me.
I got a cool job out of it. So.
You really. And you know what?
And then I got you one on it. Yeah. So it kind of worked out.
The Darkhawk book that I got for free there was fairly recent at the time. So I know he's popped in
from time to time.
Secret Wars-ish.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. But he's like, imagine, I'm trying to describe Darkhawk in my head. Like imagine a Power Ranger.
Yeah.
With cooler markings.
He can fly.
Apocalypse Archangel, like Apocalypse Horseman Archangel's wings.
Yeah. Metal. Yeah.
That are all metal and badass.
He's in a metal spacesuit.
And he's in a metal spacesuit. And the amulet that has that basically has given him his power has some serious negative effects on him as well in regards to his psyche. And it's possible that at some point he might have been murdering people without knowing it because he wasn't conscious for it or the suit was doing it.
Yeah. it's all murky.
The point of my point, without giving too much away, is that
it's a dynamic character with a lot of background. And
and much
cool
like I like the Sentry because the Sentry has problems, but the Sentry's problems are going to be his problems even if he got depowered.
Yeah.
Whereas Darkhawk, the thing that has made him powered has severely could ruin his life.
Oh yeah.
And he doesn't necessarily know it for a while. And that aspect of it is a really, really cool. Yeah. You know, much the same with Sentry, you know, like he's got the Void. Is the Void part of him? Does the Void actually exist at all?
Yeah.
You know,
it's a cool,
So, but Darkhawk, I'm super excited for that. And I'm super excited that they brought back the original creators for it. Because they did that for that first issue of New Mutants that they brought back when they brought back the original artist and writer and like put them together on a team for a special.
Claremont,
yeah. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like there's just kind of been this reset of how to approach comics and IPs in the last couple of years. Yeah. Particularly this year when everyone was forced to slow down.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was explaining to Logan and Javi at work, but I was like, hey, you know, like, because they were asking about comics. I'm like, yo, dude, what's up? And I was like saying, like, you know, the last couple of years at Marvel, a lot of the big comic book artists or writers left because they got sick of how Marvel was treating them and the storylines they were forced to do. And a lot of them went back to indie stuff. And then eventually some of them working at DC because DC treated them better. So Marvel ended up hiring a lot of like indie writers and they completely just revamped the entire Marvel line from X-Men and Hickman came back for X-Men. It's been great, but and Jason Aaron's been doing Avengers, which has been really cool. And for a while I wasn't reading it because I'm like, okay, whatever. And then little things would happen. I'm like, wait, what's going on? And I'd go back and reread it and rebuy the issues. I'm like, oh shoot, I wish I was following all along. But there's a lot of indie writers like Donny Cates who's doing. He did Guardians, and then he's been doing the Venom arc, and it's been the best comic I've read in years. But then now he's done a couple events out of it, and it's just all their artists or their writers right now are just kind of blowing up, and it's been great. I think they're trying to revamp Darkhawk a bit because he's I don't know if he originally was a teenager, but now he's kind of like, I'm guessing mid-20s, so they're trying to go to that aspect, and Marvel's been really trying to bring up their younger heroes and villains. Kind of an interesting time in the comic book industry, especially with the big two, Marvel and DC. DC just finished up their death metal arc and stopped every single book they're putting out, and now they're doing Future Slate, which is like, I don't know, 75...
Future Slate or Future State?
Future State.
Okay.
Which is like 70, 80 years into the future.
Of which universe?
Of the main DC universe.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's...
it's Kingdom Come.
Yeah. Sort of, kind of.
I'm excited. But I'm excited for like the way that, because I feel like Donny Cates is right now sort of the Jim Starlin of Marvel, in that they're like, this is your realm.
This is your realm.
If it is something remotely cosmic, and because they've kind of turned the symbiotes into a much more cosmic entity, they have really. I mean, he's gone so far with it, and Glynis and I always joke about how. It's like, get Donny Cates on the line. He'll figure out how to make this work.
Yeah.
And
son of a bitch, he did it.
And he did it. What's the joke she made? She was like, what do people like? They like Thanos. Cool. Who else do they like? They like Deadpool. Yeah, but we've done too much Deadpool. Who do they not like that we can make popular? Well, we can try to make Punisher popular. Cool. Let's make Punisher, just make him like Deadpool. Who else do we need to revive? We haven't done anything with Ghost Rider in a while. Cool. We'll give Ghost Rider, the Punisher, in space, and we'll make him talk like Deadpool.
I'm like, what?
Is that enough? Is that enough? Thanos? Call Donny Cates on the line. We'll give him a baby Thanos. He'll make it work.
It's fine. And he did.
He
Holy
totally
crap,
did.
he totally
Cosmic
did.
Ghost Rider's great.
Yeah. And he was pounding around with a baby Thanos.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a ridiculous comic book. Well, it's just a ridiculous story.
Yeah, what kind of ridiculous comic book story? Badass guy in space palling around with a child.
We'll do it. Yeah, right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah. But like between that and then Silver Surfer Black, and anything with Null, anything with Venom, Venom, like you quickly, Venom, for a hot second, sort of revived.
And it was really cool. Yeah, it was a cool one-off.
It was a really cool one-off. Yeah. But all of the stuff that's being brought, it's really, really tied together, much in the same way that Soul is running the High Republic over in Star Wars, or like Filoni operates the rest of like Star Wars that isn't, Skywalker Star Wars.
Yeah.
And then in the world of mutants, they have like somebody who's kind of heading all of that IP. And when they do bleed together, it's only two people who really need to talk to each other because everybody else is answering to some form of a hierarchy instead of the free for all that it was 6-7 years ago when like everything was whatever.
And there was a couple editors
like,
here,
hey, we're having an event and every one of you needs to tie it in. I don't care what your story's going right now. We're going to
sidetrack and it'll be fine. We'll sell it.
Yeah. But with the amount of books that weren't being sold this year, there was a significant, pullback on what is the best we can, what's the best foot we can put forward right now, because we can't just do everything as fast as we wanted to. And I think it's been okay.
Yeah, so far it's been pretty good. I've been digging it. So, yeah. Well, that kind of transitions us into what are we reading? What are we working on? I've been reading the King in Black arc, which is the new Venom story, which focuses on Null, who's the symbiote god from like the time before time kind of thing.
Right.
It's been freaking great.
Yeah,
it's a sequel to Absolute Carnage, and this is what Donny Cates has been building up to.
But also kind of the sequel to, what is it, Web of Venom?
Web of Venom is kind of the
precursor.
Not really. It's more of the kind of like the Dark Reign of what's going on, and it's more just like, this is the Web of Venom.
The Venom story that eventually led to Evil Reed Richards.
Evil Reed Richards was just thrown in,
but that led to like that was in that story arc with the dragon and everything else.
Oh yeah, this was it. Yeah, that was just a Venom arc.
Oh okay, because I feel like that's where it really kind of gets its start.
Yeah,
because wasn't that the first time we heard about Null?
The first appearance of Null was actually in a Thor comic from Jason Aaron like years ago.
Oh, that's right.
Like
you were looking for that for a while.
And I finally found it at the Hideout. So yeah.
Nice.
They really did their homework with this and really kept it self-contained, but also now that they've realized that one, Donny Cates knows his stuff and he set it up really well.
Yeah.
He gave everybody a solid storyline to build off of. So there are some spin-offs and like one-shots and little mini series that tie into the series, but it's very self-contained. So like it's not, you can just jump right in and you kind of know what's going on. And if you did read the Venom series before, which you really should have, like it's a really good knowledge builder and world builder to the event.
It's good on its own too.
But it's also
really nice.
Fantastic on its own. Again, you don't really need to know anything going into it, and it explains everything, but not expositionally and not boringly. Like
right.
Right.
And that's something I really appreciate about Donny Cates is I really like his style and the way he writes, and I like that it's so different from Hickman.
Yeah.
But Hickman also has that same like years ahead plan.
Oh yeah.
And there's all these machinations happening in his work, but his way of getting it out and getting you your information is so very different.
It's different.
But it still works.
Not in a bad way at all. Yeah.
And I feel like the Magnificent Miss Marvel or Arrow and that's AERO or some of the other stuff that they've thrown out as their own titles, Miles Morales even, all of those books still are able to operate the way that they want to, and they're no longer being like pulled along.
Yeah.
But when it comes time to like, hey, we got to go handle stuff with this other thing, like
they do it. And it's nice now because a lot of before Marvel with their tie-in series, they would just get a random writer who's not writing the current iteration of whatever book and just bring them in like, oh, do this storyline for these characters, and it like didn't mesh up chronologically, like continuity was all off. But now they're doing one or two things. They're getting the original, or not the original, but the current writer of the series, like Miles Morales. That current writer is tying in to King in Black, while Al Ewing, who's doing the Immortal Hulk, did a tie-in issue to King in Black. So it didn't quite fit in with the Immortal Hulk book itself, but it's a one-off by the artist or by the writer who managed to fit it in storyline and continuity wise, and it worked so good.
Yeah. And those are really, really nice. Right now, I've been gaming. I've been playing Kakarot like crazy.
Yeah. We've been going through a DBZ phase. We've been trying to catch you up. We finally finished the Frieza saga.
I'm officially back to where I was when I started watching DBZ.
Yeah.
For those of you at home who don't know what DBZ is Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z was my first anime that I intended to watch as knowing it was anime.
Yeah,
I mean, I watched
same.
Sailor Moon,
That was
I watched Pokemon and
yeah.
Mega Man
Yeah.
and things like that. And I definitely probably watched, Cardcaptor Sakura and I know I watched Escaflowne because I was obsessed with Escaflowne and Digimon, things like that.
Yeah.
But none of those were like, oh, here's something that's like really Japanese.
Yeah. And then I really want to
TV,
follow and pay attention.
And then I want to follow, really, And then Charles was like, dude, you got to stop talking smack about anime. Like, come home and watch Dragon Ball Z.
That's kind of how it was with me and Tate.
So I went over and I watched it and I was like, okay, no, I'm in. And there was there was a new episode every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would run home and I'd, try to get home in time so that I could see it in time. And I freaking loved it. I absolutely just adored it. And it kind of opened my eyes to a lot of other things. But eventually there came a point where the saga ended. And by the time it picked back up, Charles wasn't watching it or something of that nature. And I wound up missing pretty much everything after that segment. And then, of course, I met Nicole. And Nicole and I started dating. And then on our very first date, she mentioned Dragon Ball Z Abridged, which, that was obviously a good enough sign for me. So you and Nicole are, kind of guiding me through this because I had never seen the actual, any actual episode. I probably caught one or two on Toonami. I think I caught an episode of the Ginyu Force or Frieza stuff. Mm-hmm. But I didn't see anything up to Trunks showing up.
Yeah.
Because I came in at Trunks.
Right when he showed up, yeah.
And I didn't know who Frieza was. I didn't really know who King Cold was. I was half paying attention when that was on.
Yeah.
And then I became invested as soon as we started fighting the androids.
Saga. Yeah.
And as soon as they showed up, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. You're like, this was it.
Right back. Yeah. And I love it. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I'm enjoying the hell out of that. And I'm playing a lot of Dragon Ball Z, or what is it called? Dragon Ball.
Or DBZ Kakarot.
It's either Dragon Ball Z Kakarot or Dragon Ball Super Kakarot.
Yeah.
But Kakarot being Goku's given name from when he was born on planet Krypton. I mean planet Vegeta. Yeah. Anyway, so I've been playing that, which follows along the main Dragon Ball Z storyline, and I'm almost caught up to where you were because somehow you had way more time on that game than I did, and I don't know if it was because I was in the middle. Yeah, and I just made it to the point where I can decide to go to Namek if I want to. So I turned it off because I was hoping to stream once I got all that crap done. Yeah, I just didn't realize how many side quests there were.
There's a lot. Yeah,
so I've been
which is pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean I'm enjoying it and I've had a lot of fun playing it. I've loved.
That's definitely another game I need to finish up.
Yeah, I mean there's a ton of games I need to finish up, but
that's fair.
I've been playing that, and then I watched Mobile Suit Gundam Origin. Yeah, the Origin, and it was so good, and I was like. This because it ends at the very beginning of Mobile Suit Gundam from the 70s. Yeah. And so it's and now Gundam begins. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to get Gundam. Yeah. Except finding Gundam on Blu-ray is impossible.
Oh, sure, yeah.
There's one DVD set that has English and Japanese options. Mm-hmm. And as much as I wish I was watching it in Japanese, I'm falling asleep watching subtitles. I'm also kind of invested in the names that they had or the voices that they had in Origin, which aren't the same voices as the ones in Mobile Suit Gundam, but they're very close.
Oh, that's cool.
Except for Garma's older brother, who in Origins sounds awesome, and I love him. And they're all terrible. It was 1970s dubbing. Yeah. But
wait, was it dubbed in the US
in the 70s?
In the 70s?
I think it didn't come to the US until the 80s.
Shoot, even then, that's still.
But it's old and it's dated, and there's no mixing. So they'll be talking, and you're just you sound like you're in a sound booth. You're not doing anything to adjust this audio, but it's got those very old school, G.I. Joe, Saint Seiya, Knights of the Zodiac, Thundercats kind of voicing, and it's over the top, but. I've been watching that, and I'm moving my way through that because apparently the 08 MS team, which comes later, is really, really good. Oh, okay. And so I'm just kind of powering through it. I think I've seen
just a couple of random ones of 08.
But that Mobile Suit conversation today where he said mobile suit.
Oh, six times in 30 seconds.
Sir, we found out the tank is actually a mobile suit. Ah, a mobile suit? So it's a mobile suit. Well, we'll have to send out our mobile suits. It'll be mobile suits versus mobile suits. Like, it just, it was like, it's not even a word anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I remember I came in and you're like, dude, just listen to this. And you played it. And I'm like, what is this?
Yeah. And like the shading is done with like charcoal. It's dated.
Yeah.
And having come from Mobile Suit Gundam The Origin, which was made within the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I'm like, where's all the detail on the ship?
Oh.
Where's all the detail on the fighting?
There isn't.
Why are these Gundams that are made out of metal, made of rubber?
Yeah.
Like, why are they bending as much as they are? But that said, for a cartoon that was like for kids, ish, in the 70s.
In the 70s, yeah.
The amount of commentary on war and stuff, like, they kill the
pretty heavy.
His friend's parents in like episode 1.
Shit.
And I'm just like, and then he slaps her like 3 times to get it together because the 70s.
Because the 70s.
Get it together. Excuse me, miss. You're needed over there. I'll handle this. Oh, bah, bah, bah. I don't know. That's an airplane joke. Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been watching Gundam. I've been basically diving into like anime from before the golden age of anime and Cowboy Bebop, which I'm also rewatching.
Right, yeah.
Because Amazon released a steelbook and it's the best damn Blu-ray available of Cowboy Bebop. If you're planning on buying Cowboy Bebop,
do that one.
Don't do any other ones because it's the only one that has both languages. It's the only one with any decent special features.
Cool.
And it's the only one of that sort of option that's actually on Blu-ray and not on DVD because there's a great DVD set.
Yeah.
But, half of your players aren't going to be able to play DVDs in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
So is what it is.
Welcome to the future.
I'm not reading anything. I'm reading Endurance, which is a book about a ship in 1916 that wanted to cross the continent of Antarctica. And so they were trying to cross the southern pole. And they like got wedged between some. There was a big storm, and it moved some of the polar like caps, and it just wedged the ship in. And they worked for like 2 or 3 days, trying to keep the ship from like sinking.
Yeah.
And eventually, it just they all said we got to abandon ship and cross. We got to walk the rest of the way. And so there's halfway at the actual pole coming up because the pole had already been discovered.
Yeah.
And like conquered by like Norwegians or something.
Yeah.
And so at that pole, a team from the south had come up and placed like some supply caches for them.
Yeah.
So they are going to make their way towards that in the book right now, but it's based entirely on interviews from the crew.
Right on.
And the guy who led them, Shackleton, he like there's whole books on this expedition and how he got them out.
Oh wow.
Specifically about his leadership. Like books on leadership were written about this man for getting everyone out alive.
That's cool.
And apparently they had a stowaway and like a lot of them were scientists, but this was some guy who just had this like love of adventure and just couldn't live a normal life. So he's like, let's go to the North Pole.
Yeah.
And he lost the race to the North Pole. And he's like, let's go to the South Pole. And he lost the race to the South Pole. And he's like, let's cross the continent. It's the last damn thing we can do on this earth that hasn't been done yet.
Oh, man.
And so he tried, and then he had to abandon his ship. Shoot. But the descriptions of like the ship giving way under the ice are like they talk about it like the ship is like crying out and singing a death knell.
Wow.
Because
it's heavy.
Well, because you've got a gigantic wooden ship that's just being crushed slowly and all of that wood's just and at one point they had to go down and get supplies out knowing the ship was about to go. Yeah. And like that was insane. But the guy who writes it beautifully. So I've been enjoying that. Cool. But there's nothing geeky about that. As far as reading anything, I'm not reading anything.
That's still cool though.
Yeah. No. In gaming though, Kakarot has been what I've been playing, and then as far as watching, it's been that. And you're watching DBZ with me. So.
Yeah. We're all going through that and yeah, I've been watching Cobra Kai season 3.
Dude, I gotta get into Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai is so fucking good. Woo! Yeah.
I gotta get into Cobra. I'm watching Hilda season 2.
Oh, that's I saw that drop.
New thing.
Yeah.
season 1 hints at like witches and magic, and season 2 they're like, okay,
here they are.
Because in season 1 there's definitely magic. There's trolls. They live in a place called Trollberg. There's a tiny elf.
Yeah.
You know, and it's cute. But I don't know what it is about that show. But it is like when I finished my comprehensive exam, I turned on Hilda because I was like, I need to veg out with something that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know. It's got that same sort of like Steven Universe vibe of feel good with a little less of the like feel good down your throat that it could sometimes be.
Yeah.
And the episodes are they're
quick.
reasonably long.
They
move quick, but they're not like Steven Universe is 11 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Adventure Time.
Adventure Time, yeah.
But this these episodes,
they're like solid 30-minute, right?
Thereabouts, yeah. I feel like they might have gone longer, but I've never paid attention to runtime because I just enjoy them so much.
Yeah.
But I've watched the first season like 3 times.
Yeah, I remember watching a couple episodes.
It's Hilda is voiced by Lady Mormont from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So I've been enjoying that and moving through that real slowly and just kind of enjoying it when I could. And then, of course, the history of swear words with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I want to start that one.
Also well worth a listen.
Right on. Yeah.
So that's what that's all the things that I'm doing right now.
Nice.
Thanks.
I'm just now finishing up. I think I have like 30 minutes left in Queen's Gambit, which has been really good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really good.
Okay.
And then I started Bridgerton because I needed a Downton Abbey replacement.
Is it just Downton Abbey?
No, it's very much different.
Cool.
I mean, it's similar, but it's very much different.
Okay.
In a good way. I'm still half waiting for like
Maggie Smith
to come up and just like,
spat some knowledge.
Yeah, but it's not happening. And I know it's a different show, but I still want her to show up because, duh.
Well, doesn't Bridgerton also take place like 50 years beforehand?
Beforehand, yes, but tiny
Downton Abbey happens in the turn of the century,
early 1900s.
Yeah, and
even 1920s.
This is
this is 1800s,
if I recall
1850s,
correctly,
1860s, something like that.
It is at the time when the Queen, the race of the Queen, is like historically called into question. And so they run with that as their.
There's people of color everywhere. It's freaking great.
Yeah, and
they
basically made it like it's in vogue to be of color, and that melanin's in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's really cool. And then there's even like
stuff, kind of
pop songs that are reimagined as orchestra.
It's
really cool. And I'm not super familiar with a lot of these pop songs, but there's a Billie Eilish song in there. I'm like, I know this song.
I think
and it clicked. I'm like,
Thank You
this
Next
is really cool.
Plays at the ball.
That's in there.
A string quartet or something.
Yeah.
I read some stuff about it because my friend
really
Sari
cool.
is obsessed with it. Yeah. It's also based on a book.
Yeah,
and that book series cover is the grossest, trashiest romance novel looking stuff I've ever seen.
It totally is. I think there's like 9 or 10 books out right now.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure, and I'm sure that they were like dime store novels. Like it was. I saw the covers and I was like, Danielle Steele's gonna be mad that somebody stole her book cover format.
Yeah,
like short of Fabio. Like
right. Yeah.
Pretty
no,
bad.
really. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But I made it to
if
episode 3 last night. It's been really good. It's been enjoyable. So
I say that because my grandmother had a ton of those types of books, and so I wouldn't be surprised if there were some around my house. Not that I would be surprised if it just showed up in my library.
Oh, it's sitting right next to the Spider-Man Unlimited book, and right in between Maximum Carnage and Star Wars Boba Fett over there.
Yeah, right. for sure. Anyway,
but yeah, so that's kind of been our last couple of weeks here.
Yeah, thereabouts. So shout out to the legendary, wonderful, beautiful son of a bitch that is Mitch Thompson. And you know what? Shout out to his lovely mother, Barbie, since we keep saying son of a bitch, because she is not.
She's a lovely lady.
A wonderful gal. Yeah. And Mitch is our editor.
Yeah.
And Bryan Romero and Bryce Rankins are your hosts. And you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and all that other garbage. I'm on Clubhouse now at Bryce Rankins. And Bryan doesn't have an iPhone, so he's not on Clubhouse now. But where can we find you on the other social medias? Because you use your Twitter all the time. Bryan
all the
uses
time.
Twitter. This is a podcast. Bryan doesn't use his Twitter. Bryan
I'm on the Facebooks. It's private. I'm on Instagram. It may or may not be private. I don't know.
You can also find us on
but
Instagram
also weird.
At Sneaky Geek.
That's the more important part.
Yeah. At Sneaky Geek Podcast is our Instagram handle, and you can find us there. We post never, but
we're gonna try to get better.
We're getting better now.
I mean,
we
always
say
that
editing because Mitchell Thompson,
the legendary Mitchell Thompson, is in the house.
Thompson.
At his house in San Francisco,
at his house, distant,
but not really
socially
here,
distant, doing his editing.
Yeah,
because
we're
Mitchell
in a pandemic,
Thompson,
everybody.
We are
Jeez,
in a
calm
pandemic. Good God.
Whew.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to have the legendary Mitch Thompson on our team officially
I'm
now.
so excited about
Yeah.
it. Also, if you haven't given it a listen yet, the Bronami Code is a new podcast out by Nick, our regular video game correspondent guy, and a couple of his buds.
Yeah.
We have shared an episode on our SoundCloud page, but again, you know, if you're not there, also we are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Google Play and just everywhere.
Yeah,
so I think we're on Stitcher. I don't know.
It could be. I don't know. So if you're listening to this on iTunes, feel free to head over to Spotify and give us a listen over there.
Yeah.
It's a better episode. It's longer.
It's so different.
So different.
It's such a change of pace.
Yeah, no, it's.
I mean, and the interviews.
There's so many interviews.
Yeah,
and
so much better.
We record
at
upside
Spotify.
down.
Yep.
I
have my inversion table.
Right.
Yep. And I use an inversion blender.
Oh.
Wait, that's an immersion blender.
Immersion? What?
Well, it's electric. Immersion. It's immersion.
Oh, okay.
It's still immersion.
It's immersion, but it's electric.
Of course. Of course. Double immersions. And yeah, you can listen to the immersion version. It's the same on every platform. It's the same on every fucking platform. We love you very much. Please give us a like, give us a comment, give us a subscription. They do help push us up in the algorithm when people go looking for this sort of thing. And
hopefully
we'll
hear from us soon.
Yeah.
And from you soon.
And from immersion soon.
And from immersion. Double immersion all the way across the sky. Oh man.